One of the trickiest things that most Scrum teams tangle with, even when they are advanced, amazing practitioners, is creating good sprint goals. Because, well, it carries so much behind it, right? It's the whole purpose of why we're doing that sprint. It's the value case. It's the reason for existence for that sprint. Or the cheeky question I like to ask is, what's justifying our pay for this sprint? That is what should be answered in the sprint goal. And that's very difficult to quantify in a simple single objective of a sprint goal. Personally, what I recommend and what I tend to use for myself is essentially creating a hypothesis using a similar structure. There are two major approaches to sprint goals, and they tend to be along the almost hypothesis structure and the we're gonna get this thing achieved structure, right? By the end of the sprint, this will be true. And the reason I like the hypothesis structure, and I use both, but I primarily use the hypothesis structure, is it allows us to ask both the question of what is it we're hoping to achieve, and what are we pulling on, what levers, what dials are we trying to move to make that a reality? Because that then informs the kind of work we pull into the sprint backlog. And it can also give us an idea of, well, if we're trying to influence these things, a hypothesis, after all, is essentially if X occurs, then Y is true. Right? So if we try and influence that and create that sprint goal, and at the end of it we realize that, well, nope, that was not the right one, we might be able to scratch that off our list, and next time we can try and influence a different set of variables. And it really helps navigating very complex, very unknown scenarios and situations where there's a lot of uncertainty, and sometimes you just gotta pick something and give it a go and see what happens. And that's when those hypotheses ones can be very powerful. On the flip side, sometimes by the end of the sprint we're going to achieve X can be equally powerful. It's a powerful statement, it's a driving statement, and it's almost more of a promise than a hypothesis is. Because a hypothesis says we're going to try this thing, we're going to prove if this is true or false, and we'll find that out by the end of the sprint. And that can be valuable, that can be powerful. Whereas by the end of this sprint we're going to achieve X is almost more of a promise. It's more of a commitment where you're just saying we're going to turn heaven and earth to make this thing happen. We don't know exactly what's needed, but we're going to try this. And where both can be inspiring, both can be helpful, I prefer the hypothesis one when I have more uncertainty about what exactly is needed to get us closer to the product goal. And that's when the hypothesis format is super powerful. Steve Traps has written a fantastic blog post about this, which I highly recommend everyone reads. It's on scrum.org, and it shows a great format for that, which is our focus is going to be on this outcome. We believe it delivers this value to these people or persons, and we will know this is true if this impact has been achieved, right? This outcome has been achieved. And that's a great format because, again, it tells you what's our value focus, who's it for, and how we're going to know it's happened. And that gives a great structure then for the rest of the sprint backlog to emerge as a result. So if you're ever struggling with sprint goals, think about the hypothesis. Think about what is the outcome we're trying to achieve here? What is it we're trying to validate this sprint? And then create the rest of the sprint backlog in favor of achieving that. And if you do that, you'll get some pretty cool results. What's fun, however, is with any hypothesis, well, sometimes it's wrong, right? So there will probably be even more sprint goals that you don't actually achieve as such because, well, you didn't get the result you were hoping. But that's not necessarily a negative because you still got very valuable data for where to go next. So it can be powerful for learning. And that's why I like hypothesis and sprint goals. It's a great learning tool when dealing with a lot of uncertainty in your environments. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Oscar with Pragmatic Shift. You can find more of our stuff under @Pragmatic Shift on all social media. I would love to be your Scrum coach. And if you're interested in working with me, you can find my courses on pragmaticshift.com or about me as a coach under scrumcoach.uk. Please do like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out and gives us further reach to get to more professionals to help them on their journeys as well. Thank you again for watching.